The night sky burned crimson as the last human walked through the ruins of a forgotten world. His name was Elias Varon, a soldier once sworn to defend Earth, now reduced to a wanderer lost among alien stars. He carried nothing but a tattered coat, a broken blaster, and the weight of memories too heavy for any man to bear. All he wanted was a place to sleep, a roof to hide beneath, a corner where the war could not reach him. The planet he found was called Velrin, a lush world ruled entirely by alien women, tall, silver-skinned beings whose eyes glowed faintly blue beneath twin moons. To them, males were myths, long extinct in their species' endless wars. When Elias stumbled through the border village, the aliens froze, their elegant faces tightening with shock and curiosity. The guards raised their energy spears, yet hesitation flickered in their gaze. He collapsed before they could speak, his body trembling with exhaustion and hunger. When he awoke, he found himself inside a crystalline chamber filled with strange, humming light. A group of women surrounded him, whispering in their melodic tongue. At their center stood High Matron Lyra, the leader of the Velrin settlement, graceful, powerful, and utterly alien. Her voice carried through his mind, not his ears. "You are not one of us," she said, "and yet you breathe in our air without pain." Elias blinked, unsure whether he was dreaming or dying. "I just needed a place to rest," he murmured. The aliens watched him as if he were a relic from another universe. One reached out, touching his skin as if to test if he was real. Her expression shifted, awe mixed with something deeper, fear perhaps, or recognition. Then Lyra stepped closer, her silver hair glinting in the soft light. "A human male," she whispered. "We thought your kind was only a legend." Elias sat up slowly, confusion clouding his mind. "You've seen humans before?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, but our records speak of them. Warriors of fire who turned dying stars into weapons." The chamber fell silent, the air heavy with meaning. To them, he was not a vagrant, not a man seeking shelter. He was a symbol, a myth come alive. They led him to a mirror-smooth pool where glowing vines grew around the edges. Lyra motioned toward the reflection. "Look," she said, "the markings of the ancient bloodlines match yours." Elias saw strange light tracing across his skin, pulsing like veins of fire beneath his flesh. He stepped back, shaken. "I don't know what this means," he said. Lyra's gaze hardened. "It means, human, that your arrival was foretold, that night." While the village slept, Elias sat near the window, watching twin moons drift above alien clouds. He had come seeking peace. Yet the way those women looked at him told another story. He overheard whispers in the halls and of prophecies, of the returner, of a man who would ignite the stars again. Lyra entered silently, her cloak shimmering like water. "You can stay here," she said softly. "But understand this, your presence will change everything." Elias nodded. Though he barely understood, he didn't want to change anything. He didn't want destiny or prophecy. He only wanted shelter. But as he drifted into uneasy sleep, he heard the sound of ships in the distance, and the low hum of something vast awakening beneath the surface of the world. Elias woke to the sound of whispering voices outside his chamber. The air of Velrin was thick with energy, glowing lines pulsing across the walls like veins of light. He rubbed his eyes and looked toward the window. The twin moons now half hidden by heavy clouds. Something was changing in the atmosphere, something ancient and alive. High Matron Lyra entered quietly, her silver robes trailing behind her like liquid light. Her expression was calm, but her eyes carried the weight of command. "You must come," she said. "The Council of Matrons has summoned you." Elias hesitated, his body still weak. But there was something in her tone that left no room for refusal. The council chamber was vast and circular, built from crystal that hummed softly when anyone spoke. Dozens of alien women stood around a glowing sphere in the center, a living archive of memory. When Elias stepped forward, the sphere brightened, showing shapes of ancient warriors made of light. They looked human, their faces fierce and proud. Lyra gestured toward the vision. "These are the Starborn, the ones your people once were." Elias frowned. "That can't be right," he said. "Humans never had that kind of power." The oldest matron, Siren, lifted her hand, her voice deep and calm. "Power fades when it is feared," she said. "Your kind sealed it away." Long before the wars, the sphere pulsed again, revealing burning worlds, collapsing empires, and alien queens bowing before human armies. Elias took a step back, his heart pounding. "No, That's not me, he whispered. I'm no warrior. I just wanted to survive, Lyra approached him, her voice gentle but unwavering. You carry the spark of the Starborn, whether you wish it or not. Our world has waited for your return, she continued. And now the darkness stirs again. Elias felt the weight of their stares, the pressure of expectations he never asked for. He clenched his fists, his voice trembling. I don't want to be your savior. Lyra's gaze softened. Perhaps not, she said, but destiny rarely asks for permission. Before Elias could answer, the chamber shook violently. The sphere flickered and dimmed. A deep roar echoed through the halls, metallic and alive. The matrons turned toward the sound, fear flashing in their luminous eyes. The harvesters, Lyra breathed. They found us, Elias looked confused. Who are they? Seren's voice turned cold. The ones who destroyed your world. Outside, the skies of Velrin ignited as silver ships descended through the clouds. The alien guards rushed to their positions while the council prepared for war. Lyra grabbed Elias by the arm, her voice sharp. You must come with me. He tried to pull free. I can't fight them, he said. I'm just one man. She looked at him with strange determination. No. You're more than that when you're the last of them. The floor beneath them cracked, releasing a beam of light that lifted them both upward into a hidden corridor. They emerged into a chamber filled with strange machines, glowing symbols and a massive throne made of stone and fire. Lyra stepped forward. This was the seat of the first human commander, she said. Our records call him the Dawnmaker. Elias stared at the carvings, seeing faces that looked eerily like his own. His hands trembled, the air around him growing warmer. Suddenly the carvings lit up, reacting to his presence, and the chamber filled with blinding light. Lyra's eyes widened. It recognizes you, she whispered. Elias fell to his knees as a surge of memories not his own flooded through his mind. Battles among stars, voices of ancient soldiers, the fall of Earth. He gasped for air, clutching his chest. I can see them, he said weakly. The ones who came before me. Lyra knelt beside him. Then perhaps, she said softly, humanity isn't finished after all. The ground rumbled again, the roar of alien engines growing louder. Elias looked up, his eyes glowing faintly gold. The harvesters were coming, and for the first time, he felt something awaken within him. Not fear, but fury. The ground shook again as the sky over Velrin burned with enemy fire. Massive dark ships pierced through the clouds, their engines roaring like thunder. The alien women ran for cover while defensive towers rose from beneath the city walls. Glowing with ancient power, Elias stood beside Lyra, staring at the chaos outside, the fear on their faces reflecting the same dread that once consumed Earth. Lyra's voice was steady but urgent. The harvesters are not here by chance, she said. They followed your scent of human blood. Elias looked at her, his jaw tightening. You mean I brought this, he said. I led them here. Lyra shook her head slowly. No, they were always searching for you, the last fragment of what they couldn't destroy. Outside, thunder rolled as energy bolts ripped across the horizon, lighting the twin moons in fire and ash. The matrons gathered around the command platform, their crystal staffs forming a shield of light. Elias stepped forward, gripping a weapon they had given him, an ancient human rifle that hummed like a living thing. He had no idea how to use it, yet somehow it responded to his pulse. Syncing with his heartbeat, a golden aura flickered briefly along its edges, as if recognizing its rightful wielder. Lyra turned to him. The prophecy spoke of the Starborn awakening under fire, she said. Do you feel it, Elias? The storm within? He frowned, his mind clouded. But inside his chest something burned. Not fear, not pain, but memory. Suddenly he saw flashes of another man standing in the same chamber long ago, giving commands to soldiers made of light. He blinked and the vision vanished, leaving only the echo of a voice whispering, Rise, son of Earth. The harvesters landed, their war machines spilling across the plains like shadows of steel. The alien warriors of Velrin fought bravely, but their energy spears shattered against the dark armor of the invaders. Elias felt rage rise in him as one of the defenders fell before his eyes. He aimed his rifle and fired instinctively. A blast of pure golden energy tore through the harvester ranks. Everyone froze, the air vibrating from the force of the shot. Lyra's lips parted in disbelief. You've awakened it, she whispered. The weapon of the first flame. Elias staggered back, his heart pounding, the weapon pulsing with warmth in his hands. He looked at Lyra, confused and frightened. I don't know how I did that. She smiled faintly. Because it's in your blood, human. The same fire that once burned across the stars. Before he could answer, another explosion ripped through the hall. Throwing them to the ground, from the smoke emerged a towering Harvester commander, its armor black and marked with symbols that pulsed like veins. Its voice was cold and mechanical. The last of humanity, it said. Your extinction ends today. Elias raised his weapon, his eyes glowing faintly again. You tried that once before, he said through clenched teeth. And you failed. The creature lunged forward, and their weapons collided in a burst of light that shook the chamber walls. Lyra called out to the matrons, Focus the shields. Protect the core. But her gaze stayed on Elias, who now moved faster than before, each strike guided by instinct older than memory. The harvester's blade sliced through stone pillars, sparks flying as Elias dodged and countered. Then, for the first time, he stopped running. He slammed his palm against the floor, and the carvings of the ancient chamber erupted in golden fire. A wave of energy burst outward, disintegrating the harvester in a flash of light. Silence followed, the echo of the blast fading into the distance. Elias collapsed to one knee. Gasping for air, his weapon dimming, Lyra rushed to him, her voice trembling. Elias, you just activated the heart of Velrin. He looked up, sweat and dust on his face. What is that? She glanced toward the glowing throne. The last beacon of human power. The thing the harvesters fear most, outside. The remaining harvester ships began to retreat, disappearing into the red clouds. Elias watched them vanish, his hands shaking. They'll be back, he said quietly. Lyra nodded. Yes, and when they return, they'll bring the full might of their empire. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but certain. Then we must awaken the others. Elias looked at her in confusion. Others? Lyra met his gaze, her eyes gleaming like starlight. You're not the only one who carries the spark, human. There are more like you scattered across the stars. Elias turned toward the horizon, the wind carrying the scent of smoke and iron. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a lost wanderer. He felt like a soldier again, and somewhere deep inside, the fire of humanity burned brighter than ever. The dawn on Velrin came slow and blood-red, the twin suns rising over smoking ruins. Elias stood upon the balcony of the Crystal Citadel, watching the alien skies shimmer with drifting debris from last night's battle. Below, the people of Velrin moved silently, rebuilding what they could, singing ancient songs to calm their frightened hearts. He had fought before, but never like this, never against something so vast, so endless. Lyra approached quietly, her armor gleaming silver in the soft light. She carried a long spear made of blue metal, humming with power. The harvesters retreated. But not defeated, she said softly. Their mothership still hides beyond the veil of stars. Elias nodded. Then we find it, he replied. And we find the others before they do. The chamber of prophecy glowed once more as the ancient sphere awakened at his words. It displayed a map of constellations, star systems marked with faint golden lights. Lyra pointed toward one cluster far from Velrin. The archives speak of a hidden world, a place where the starborn slept. Elias studied the image. The name's alien and strange, but one symbol caught his eye. A circle with 3 lines crossing through it. He had seen it before, carved on an old Earth soldier's badge. That's human, he whispered. That's from the old Solar Command. Lyra's eyes widened. Then it's true, she said. Your kind reached beyond the galaxy long before we were born. Elias turned to her, his face set with purpose. We have to go there. She hesitated. That world lies beyond the rift. No ship has crossed it in centuries. He gave a small, tired smile. Then it's about time someone did. The matrons prepared their fastest vessel, a sleek craft made of living metal that resonated with its pilot's heartbeat. They called it the Dawnwing, built long ago from the remnants of human and Velrin technology. When Elias stepped aboard, the ship came alive, lights pulsing along its hull like veins awakening after a long sleep. Lyra felt it too. The ship recognized him, the way the weapon had, the way the throne had. It was as if the universe itself remembered him. Their journey began through a sea of stars, the Dawnwing slicing through cosmic storms and shadowed nebulae. Elias spent long hours staring out at the dark between worlds, wondering how many of his kind still lived. Lyra often joined him, sharing stories of her people, how their ancestors had once served under human command, how they had learned strength and hope from men and women of Earth. Her voice carried pride but also sorrow. When humanity fell, our hearts dimmed too, she said. We forgot what courage looked like. Days turned to weeks, and strange signals began echoing through the Dawnwing systems. A repeating code, old and broken, but unmistakably human. Elias leaned forward. Decoding it with trembling hands, it was a distress call, ancient, looping endlessly. This is Outpost Vega 9. Survivors in cryostasis, requesting extraction. His breath caught. They're alive, he whispered. Lyra smiled faintly. Then let's wake them. The ship dropped out of warp near a dead star, its light long gone. Floating in its orbit was a fractured station. Surrounded by debris and silence, Elias and Lyra donned armor and stepped into the void, their boots touching the cold metal of the forgotten station. Inside, flickering lights revealed rows of cryopods, each containing a human. Sleeping and untouched for centuries, Elias moved closer, his hand trembling as he brushed frost from one pod. The face beneath the glass was young, calm and unmistakably human. We found them, he whispered. My people. But before they could activate the pods, the walls trembled. Lyra turned sharply. They've tracked us. From the shadows came a dark shape, a harvester scout ship emerging through the breach. Its mechanical voice echoed through the ruins. Target located, the last human. Elias lifted his weapon, his eyes glowing again. You're too late, he said. The battle erupted in fire and silence. Blasts of gold and crimson tearing through the void. Lyra fought beside him, her spear cutting through steel like light through glass. Together they destroyed the scout, but alarms were already screaming across the station. Elias looked back at the pods, the sleeping humans glowing faintly in the dim light. We can't leave them here, he said. They're all that's left. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we wake them and run. He nodded, activating the core sequence as energy surged through the old machines. One by one, the pods began to glow brighter, human hearts beating again after hundreds of years. The first to open was a woman in military armor, her eyes fierce even after centuries of sleep. She coughed, blinking at the light. Who are you? Elias smiled faintly. A soldier like you, he said. And we've got work to do. Outside, the void trembled with the sound of distant engines. The harvesters were coming in full force now. But humanity was no longer alone. For the first time in generations, humans and allies stood together again beneath alien stars, and the fire that once died on Earth began to rise anew. The darkness of space stretched endlessly before them, a black sea filled with echoes of dying stars. The Dawnwing drifted through the debris field, its hull scarred but unbroken. Inside, newly awakened humans gathered around Elias, their eyes wide as they learned the truth. The universe had forgotten them, but it had not erased them. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes reflecting both sorrow and pride. They're coming, she said softly. The Harvester Armada. Outside the viewport, the stars flickered as enormous ships emerged from hyperspace, colossal machines that swallowed entire moons in their shadow. Elias looked upon them, feeling both fear and fire rising within his chest. He turned to his people, his voice calm but filled with command. We may be the last, he said, but the last can still burn brighter than the first. The humans stood tall, their ancient armor shimmering as systems reactivated for the first time in centuries. The Velrin warriors took formation beside them, their silver spears glowing blue in unison. The Dawnwing's engines roared, its core pulsing like a living heart. Lyra entered the pilot's chair, her hands merging with the ship's interface. They have the numbers, she said, but not the will. Elias smiled faintly. Then let's remind them what will looks like. The first wave of harvesters descended, unleashing storms of plasma fire that lit up the void. The Dawnwing weaved through explosions, returning fire with beams of gold. Elias led a squad of humans onto the enemy's lead dreadnought, boarding it with magnetic hooks and sheer fury. Inside, corridors of dark metal twisted like veins, the air thick with mechanical whispers. Each harvester that fell released sparks of crimson energy, absorbed by the humans' weapons as if feeding on their defiance. Lyra's voice echoed through the comms. Elias, the core of their flagship is shielded. You'll need to overload it from within. Elias nodded, his tone steady. Understood, keep the ship steady. He charged forward, cutting through resistance until he reached the control chamber. There stood the Harvester Prime, taller than any machine before it, its face a blank mask of light. Its voice thundered through the walls. Humanity ended itself long ago. Elias raised his weapon, the golden rifle burning like the sun. Then you should have stayed asleep. They clashed, light against darkness, man against machine. Each blow sent shockwaves through the ship, the sound like planets breaking apart. Elias moved with impossible precision, guided by memories not his own. The spirit of the Starborn flowed through him, 1,000 warriors fighting beside him in silence. Finally, he drove the weapon deep into the Harvester's chest, releasing a surge of golden fire that tore through its core. The explosion consumed the dreadnought, waves of energy spreading across the battlefield. From the Dawn Wing, Lyra watched in awe as the enemy fleet began to crumble. The golden fire spread like dawn breaking across the night sky, burning away the shadow of machines. For the first time in 1,000 years, the stars themselves seemed to breathe again. When the light faded, Elias drifted in silence, surrounded by glowing fragments of metal. Lyra's voice broke through the static. "Elias, do you read me?" He smiled weakly. "Still here," he said. "Still human." The Dawnwing's tractor beam pulled him back aboard, where the surviving humans and Velrin awaited him. They looked upon him with reverence, not as a god, but as a man who refused to give up. Lyra approached him, placing a hand on his chest, feeling the faint hum of energy still within. "You lit the stars again," she whispered. "The flame of humanity burns once more." Elias looked toward the endless horizon of stars, his expression calm. "Then let's make sure it never dies again," he said. The humans and Velrin rebuilt together, their alliance becoming the seed of a new dawn. Across distant worlds, signals of awakening began to echo, other humans stirring from forgotten sleep. The legend of Elias Varen, the last soldier, spread through every galaxy. He had sought only shelter, yet became the hope of two civilizations. And in the heart of the universe where light met shadow, the flame of humanity burned eternal.